Hey, I'm Randy Younger, New York City's go-to film enthusiast. Every week I dive deep into the world of cinema with special guests from the New York City film scene. Whether I'm interviewing industry insiders or comparing the latest releases, there's always something for every movie lover. Join me as I explore the magic of film and discover what makes these movies unforgettable. Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and this is a special episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. And I have a very special panel with me tonight. We have back for more recurring guest critic, Miss Erica A. Welcome back, Erica.
Hi, Randy. Glad to be back. We're here for an exciting day, and I know you put us through a bunch of movies, so let's get into it.
And with us as well, we have Mr. Mike Sargent, Chief Film Critic of WBAI Radio and co-president of the Black Film Critics Circle and newcomer to Under the Radar. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you guys with us today on the show. And we are going to get into part one of our coverage of GLICKED, which is the first part. This is Gladiator 2, the Sword and Sandals epic. It is a sequel nearly a quarter of a century in the making. Ridley Scott has returned to helm, and we have some newcomers. We've got Paul Mescal, we've got Pedro Pascal, we've got Connie Nielsen returning. We also have Denzel Washington in a fantastic performance. I thought it was going to be more of a supporting role, but he pretty much dominated the film, and I'm really glad he did because I love this man's work. The film's great. The first one was fantastic. I don't think this one holds a candle to the original. It had some very strong elements. The action sequences obviously are great. The performances are also great, but I think it was a little unnecessary. And I don't know if I'm in the minority with that one. But Mike, you're new to the show. What were your thoughts on Gladiator 2?
Well, okay. The before and after. Yes, I agree. I definitely did not think that there needed to be a sequel to Gladiator. I thought it ended perfectly. I mean, he dies. Like, yeah, what sequel? So when I heard there was going to be a sequel, all right, and I'm also going to say Ridley Scott, in my opinion, over the last 15, maybe 20 years has been kind of hit or miss for me,
Right.
and more misses than hits. So I wouldn't say I was looking forward to it, but I was curious. Now, seeing it, I absolutely think it was thoroughly entertaining. It is a solid sword and sandals epic. Uh you can't really compare it to the original in many ways, but yes, you can. You have to. So I can give more detailed thoughts on the movie, but I enjoyed it, and I agree. I think Denzel, uh, he does dominate because he's such a presence. He's such a presence. He's got so much presence. I
Mhm.
thought Paul Mescal, he's got kind of a young, um, what's his name?
Lucian?
No, I'm trying. Why am I forgetting his name?
What is he?
Anyway, he just reminds me of a younger Gerard Butler, a younger Gerard
Oh,
Butler. He's got kind of that Gerard Butler energy to me.
I don't
That's what
see it, but
I
you
think
don't
he's
see it.
better.
Well, I liked him. I thought he pulled it off. I think
Oh,
that he was a good choice.
yeah.
So overall, I liked it better than I expected to.
Yeah. I think it was exactly how I expected it was going to be. Not too much, not much more, not much less. It was kind of right in between. And this is really just, a way for Paramount Pictures to get richer, and it will. And that's about it. I mean, it definitely echoed the original film like a little too much. I think the only original aspect was Denzel. And, everything else kind of felt so familiar. And this is like almost 25 years later, like I said. Denzel was the only reason really to watch this movie. I mean, he was the strongest element.
Well, here's what I think. Okay, I don't know how many sword and sandals films you've ever seen. There's a film called Fall of the Roman Empire.
that's a
Okay.
It
decent.
it's Gladiator. If you watch that film, you go,
Mm.
wow, there's like
Yeah.
there's it's the same story.
Right.
So and a lot of the same characters. So in that respect, I thought that Gladiator, was well done, well staged, well shot. It's Ridley Scott. Wow.
Mhm.
But it wasn't the most original,
Right.
No, far
film
from it.
in
I
the world.
mean,
Right.
you take all the movies that come after it, from Pompeii to, oh, the one. Randy, you know I'm terrible with names, but there
Yeah.
are so many ones about the whole gladiator that goes who formerly was a soldier, all the way back to Spartacus from what is
Mhm.
that, the 60s or the
It's
70s?
60s.
right. Well, that's the 50s even. But it's
50s.
a
Okay.
well-worn genre. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So to me, it was a modern day, sword and sandals epic. I feel like yeah, this one they kind of had to outdo what they'd done before, so they had to get out. They had to fill the Coliseum with water and have
Right.
boats, and they had
Sharks.
to
Well,
get
that I felt
sharks.
was
Rhinos.
important because
I
of the fact that so many people forget about that detail. That the Colosseum was a life necessity when you look back on it as a historian, which I'm not, but I am a lover of history, that they always talk about how the Colosseum was so much more. And so that aspect of it, I
Right.
felt the sharks were a bit overdone. But the fact that they actually went and
I
said, yes, the Colosseum was more than just a piece of sand that you picked up and rubbed between your hands.
Right,
no,
right.
I think that you mentioned Randy like what's original about it. I think the most original thing was yes to your point because for me the biggest thing, not just Denzel, was that as a black person, having seen all these sword and sandal epics, okay, when you see Rome, Rome is just filled with lots of Europeans. That's
Right.
it. That's pretty much it. But when you look at history, Rome was enormously multicultural.
Mhm.
And this is probably the most realistic depiction of Rome we've ever seen. So considering his last epic, he had, white people with eyeliner playing Egyptians, I feel like this is a big step just in terms of representation. So that to me is probably the most original part of Gladiator 2, if that makes sense to either of you.
No, for sure. That's a
What
very good point. And yeah, it's representation and it's the depiction. It's a little
a-
more accurate historically. So I respect that.
And to your point, Erica, I read that they actually did fill the Coliseum with water and do
yeah.
stuff. I don't know if they had sharks, but
I don't think they have
That's
they
what
sharks.
I was
actually,
saying.
yeah,
They
yeah.
never, I don't think they ever had sharks, but that is a
No.
true representation of it. And I felt that was not too over the top because it was important to show people that this was, but going back to your point about representation, I felt that this was more of a counterpoint to proving that they could do a Hollywood movie as epic as Stars created Spartacus,
Hmm.
which was a movie, which was a series and then a mini series and another series where they did try to do some inclusion. And as a fan of that and sword and sandal and period pieces and Greek mythology, I found one of the most exciting parts about it that they actually had one of the actors from the Star series Spartacus in the movie, and I was like, yes, he's back. Not my favorite character, but
Wait a minute.
No,
Who
the
was the actor?
the black actor, I forget his
yes,
name. He was bald and he played
he played the
Paul
king of
Mescal's
the city.
master.
Yes,
Right, right. And
but
he was
I
a
was
throwback
so
to Woody Strode in the
yes.
original Spartacus, right?
Oh,
But
well,
I
there.
was so sad. I was hoping we get some real gladiator action from him, but he didn't get much of a role.
Hmm.
No, but it was a pivotal role though. It was
True.
Eric,
pivotal.
Erica, I wanted to go back a bit and I just get your initial thoughts on the film.
My initial thoughts were that I sort of disagreed with you on what you said about how it touched too much on Spartacus, the original movie. It was never going to meet it, but I felt that the fluency was important, that it did flow straight from the original movie, which was brilliant, into
Right,
this attempt to make a sequel. And everything did feel fluid and everything did feel believable,
right,
that this is the same location, this is the exact same rules that we set up, the exact
right.
same suspense of disbelief to create this new story that really did attempt to create the same storyline.
What I
I
really
don't,
enjoyed, I really enjoyed the fact that the opening credits were basically a reflection of the original
yes,
film. I like how they've done
like,
that a few times throughout in the last 20 years or so. They did that in Spider-Man 2 that
mhm.
comes to mind right away, where they kind of, reflect upon the previous film's events. So that was good. And I think this movie I think it does hold up with the original. Like this could have easily, I think, been made about 20 years ago. I think
I
it could have.
I
I
don't
mean,
think anyone needed it 20 years ago.
we need it now. I mean,
Well, every other movie from 30, 40 years ago is getting a sequel that no one expected or needed.
Right, right. So,
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I
you know,
still agree. Is that was your first comment? Was this needed?
right.
No, no, no.
I mean, this is the year, like the past 2 or 3 or 5 years,
5 years, I'd say.
5 years, we've had serious sequel-itis. And you can coin that, I'm going to coin that phrase right now, sequel-itis. Every famous movie in the last 20, 30 years has been getting a sequel, and a lot of the time it's not necessary. Mike, I was on the show with you with Neil Rosen, where I talked briefly about Beetlejuice 2. That was warranted. It didn't hold a candle to the original. Very few sequels do, unless it's Aliens or Godfather 2, etc.
But
But
those were made consecutively in
right,
a
they
country,
weren't
so they
made
were a
30 years
sequel.
later. Right,
We're
right,
not
right,
talking about coming to America or
right,
Beetlejuice
right.
or everything else that's come out. So Gladiator 2 was needed to make it as contemporary as everything else that has gotten its opportunity for an unnecessary sequel.
And I heard that Ridley Scott he's currently in talks to do the third one.
I've seen that
So,
also.
I mean, what more needs to be said? We didn't need
Well, I
this.
think that movie needed a conclusion.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll find out in a few years whether it's necessary or not. And I mean, Paul Mescal, he's a talented young actor. I'll give you guys that. And I did enjoy seeing him. You could definitely see him as a rising star. I know he's most known for what was it, After Sun, I believe, it was a couple of years back where he was nominated for the Oscar for that. And I think there's talks he might even be nominated for this. So I mean, I hope Denzel gets a statue again. That'd be amazing. But I can't praise the man enough. So we'll see what happens in award season. So, Mike, real quick, what are your thoughts on the current state of Hollywood and sequels?
Well, all right. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think look, I'll come from two different perspectives. From a storytelling perspective, it's not a question really of how soon they make the sequel to me. Top Gun is a good example. Okay. A good sequel is like it's just a continuation of the character. The character has to grow. The something has to happen. It can't be a retread of the same thing. That's the problem with a bad sequel. I
Right,
think the reason, Empire Strikes Back, Luke loses his hand, whatever, so things move. So that I think if it's done right, a
right,
sequel can really work. Now, that being said, I think it's ridiculous that there's so much, everything's how can we mine this IP? Let's do another Flash Gordon. It's
right,
ridiculous.
I
You know,
saw
I,
that too.
yeah, I feel like, all right, why don't we get, and I would love to come up with like ridiculous, you know, unnecessary, like I came up with one the other day. How about Sylvester Stallone as Barnaby Jones? Okay. It'll be like a whole new take. So I just feel it's just so I think it's ridiculous. That's my short answer.
right, right.
That there's just so many.
Well, we've got Kathy Bates as Matlock. Like, what the heck is going on here? But I'm with you, Mike.
That's
Uh,
kind of a reboot.
yeah,
That's what they've been doing
The
forever. I
reboot.
mean,
right. Yeah,
they tried to make Iron Side.
Right. And
Ironside.
speaking of Denzel, they did Equalizer Denzel, and then they
I
had
actually think the
Queen
Equalizer
Latifah on
series
TV. So
the Equalizer TV series, I think holds a candle well.
see, I
But
haven't seen it.
I mean,
Okay.
neither. Erica, does it connect at all? Is it canon
No,
Denzel films? Okay,
it's a substitution. It's the
it's weird.
same as like letting Flash be in the Arrowverse and letting Flash be in the DCAU or no EU. AU
Right.
is the animated universe. That was a different Flash.
Because I
Gotcha.
think the Queen Latifah Equalizer came out around the same time as the third
Exactly.
Denzel movie. So it's a little confusing.
Shortly after.
Yeah, like I think around that same period. So it's a little confusing for audiences.
No,
And I
it's the
mean,
multiverse.
is it? Or is it's just
No,
confusing?
it's not actually, but I'm saying it's the same
Exactly.
Equalizer.
policy
It's
as
the
how
it's
you
the
can have.
IP multiverse. That's what it is. The
Yeah.
IP multiverse. How can we milk it as much as possible? Every platform. Okay.
Well, no,
So
it's more here's a subject. We didn't know the movie was going to do well. Oh,
Mhm.
the movie did okay. Let's let
Right.
it be. And I think both of them have their redeeming qualities, and each of them have what their strengths and their weaknesses. And a movie can do things that a television series can't, and a TV series can develop a way a movie can't.
That's a
Very
good
true.
point.
Very true.
And
Very true.
and and the TV show has become the new movie. Like it's replaced the movie theater, and you got really rich storytelling through these new shows. So
Well, back to Gladiator. I don't know if you both had that. I did appreciate that before Gladiator started. There was that thing that seems to be the new popular where the cast comes and says, "Thank you for seeing the movie in the
right.
theaters the way it's meant to be seen."
That was awkward. I don't know. That was totally unnecessary.
Well, I get that a lot when I go to the movies.
Yeah, I'd
And
rather
so
see the cartoon.
I go, that's nice. They know that that movie theaters are not as popular and
Yeah,
that you really need to see some things on a full screen, fully developed, where you're getting the whole development, not just the character's face, but you're getting the landscape, you're getting all the set design. This
right,
is not a world that's entirely CGI. It is three-dimensional with multiple aspects working, and you should experience it surround sound
right.
larger than you.
And a movie
Not
this
on a phone.
a
So,
movie
Erica, you work for Chris Nolan? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But no, a movie like this is so grand and epic in scale. You really have to see it on a movie screen. And I totally agree with that, Erica. That is for sure.
No, I agree. And I also feel people will watch a movie like that for the first time on their phone. And
Hmm.
I just don't understand that.
No,
So,
you can't.
And
yeah, I
you
agree
lose
with you.
so much of it, I believe.
Yeah.
I think you lose, three quarters.
Yeah. And like you said, Erica, this is bringing people back into the theaters, which is great. This is the same thing that happened with Barbenheimer. I mentioned that this is GLICKED. This is basically the second time
I still think it should have been called Gladawicked.
we're not going to quibble with what
All
this,
right.
but I think the official term is GLICKED at this
It
time.
is. I
But it is nice to see movies like this being made and bringing people back in the theaters. So I praise Gladiator too. I think people should see it. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's very entertaining. I mean, it's okay. It's sort of like people when they disparage Jurassic Park.
Hmm.
It's a dinosaur movie. You know what I mean? So this is like a gladiator movie. It's a fun, solid gladiator movie with some exceptional performances. So yeah, I absolutely say go see it and see it on the big screen, 100%.
Yeah, you know what you're paying for, so that's for sure. Erica, final thoughts on Gladiator 2?
I'd say that it's worth your time if you're a fan of period dramas, if you're a fan of action movies, if you're a fan of epics, if you're a fan of any of the actors that are involved. Most of them are entertaining, and that you should see it.
Yes.
It
But
holds up until almost the end.
there you go. All right, so guys, I just wanted to switch gears a bit because there's some weird parallels over the course of the last 30 years between the Gladiator verse and basically the actors who appeared in them. So basically, I'm going to go back to 1995, nearly 30 years ago, a movie called Virtuosity, which is a science fiction action film which stars Denzel as a cop hot on the tail of Russell Crowe, who plays this. He's basically a digital version that manifests itself into a physical body, and basically the whole film is Denzel trying to hunt down Russell Crowe. It's a very stupid action movie, and it's very, very 90s. The special effects can reflect that. And I think this was the first time that any of the Gladiator actors worked together. So I just want to go around real quick if we have any thoughts reflecting on 1995's Virtuosity. Erica.
I found it to be a very fun watch, very true, like you said. It is the exact epitome of that era. It's Demolition Man. It is the one. It is Johnny Keanu
Mnemonic.
Reeves movie where
I'm a
he's
mnemonic.
that one.
Same year. Same year.
It is so that era. It's actually very much reminded me mostly of Demolition Man plot wise, but it reminded me more visually of the one. But it's this total 90s. We've got this computer. Let's be sort of overly computery,
Right.
and let's just tell a story. It's a fun story to watch, and it makes sense from beginning to end, but it feels a little dated at the time where you go, wow, the mid 90s were
Yeah.
really the epitome of that storytelling style.
And yeah, the visual effects are so cheesy. It actually is kind of laughable. It's just a fun action movie. It's really dumb, over the top. Good comparison with Demolition Man, Erica. Mike, any thoughts on Virtual?
I pretty much agree with everything you said, Erica, about the film. I mean, it is very, it's a silly movie. It's a silly science fiction movie. It
No
was
fans of the
fun.
one here? You
What's
guys
that?
should. The
Yeah,
one.
the
Jet
one, oh,
Li.
the Jet Li, that was
Definitely.
supposed to be a very different actor in that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it. I remember it actually at the time because I remember reading that Sharon Stone worked with him in I think it was The Quick and the Dead, and she recommended him for this film. This is like his first like
Yeah.
full American production, and so he got the role from that. So like Sharon Stone sort of
But
like gave him his leg up. So that I remember about
but
the
I
film.
saw a lot of comparisons between those two movies,
Yeah.
except for the storyline was far more of Demolition Man. But I was like, this is just so mid 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very CD-ROM and yeah,
Yes.
desktop computers and yeah.
And
It's
virtual reality.
Right. Great. So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the
reality.
only thing
Yeah.
that was missing was that weird movie that no TV show that was based on Power Rangers, but it was the virtual world
Oh, I missed
where they
that
could jump.
one.
Um,
Oh, Reboot? No.
no, not the TV. VR Troopers. Does that
Oh, yeah.
sound?
Oh, I vaguely remember something like that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. All right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
media expert here.
Wow.
I
Wow.
can
All
quote
right. Look
anything.
at you.
Sometimes I
Look
don't
at
always get the
you.
name right, but I'm saying it was so that era.
All right, guys. So yeah, virtuosity, it's ridiculous. And then fast forward 12 years later, we've got Ridley Scott at the helm of American Gangster, which starred both Washington and Crow once again. A very different film. And honestly, I saw this once when it first came out, and I was super excited to see these two powerhouse actors to share the screen again. And I'll be honest, I was let down. I know this was based on a true story, and you've got two great actors, and it's a crime drama thriller epic. But I was let down with this one. I don't know about you, Mike. What were your thoughts on American Gangster?
Well, I thought it was a solid film, but I felt I honestly feel and again uh, because I've seen it so much, I didn't feel he was, let's put it this way, I'll put it tactfully. I don't think he was the right director to tell this story.
Okay.
And I think what he went for, I think a lot of white directors when they tell a story about black life, they are more interested in the what as opposed to the why.
Hmm.
And so I felt that this was a lot of the what, this is what happened, but you don't get enough of the why,
Okay.
the understanding that I think would come from a director that maybe is a little more connected to the material. Not that the director had to be a gangster, but I just, that was my feeling. Now, I thought it was a good movie, solid, but not a movie I would go like, yeah, I want to watch that again.
Right.
So I pretty much felt the way you did. I didn't go in with any high expectations, uh, because I think at that point already Ridley Scott was kind of hit and miss for me. I mean,
Hmm.
he does some stuff I love, it's great, and then some stuff like what was that? You know.
Yeah.
So
Very, yeah. Very unpredictable with Ridley. It's a
to
shame.
me, to me,
Well,
it is.
it's like you said early on that his movies could be so hit or miss.
Yeah. Especially in the last 20 years. I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, more in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So, but those are my thoughts. What did you think?
I mean, I only saw it once many years ago. I just thought it'd be cute to mention it today. But yeah, to see them both sharing the screen, from what I remember, there was kind of a struggle, like who's the bigger name at the time and who's gonna come out on top. So, and that's what you get when you have two of the biggest names at the time. You never, it could be a kind of a struggle power wise. But
You mean like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and Vampire Lestat?
a little
I was
bit,
going to
yeah.
say like Jet Li and Jackie Chan
Right,
in
right.
Yeah.
yes,
You know,
What
it's
what
who
what
gets top
what
billing?
about Erica? What did you think? Did you see that movie? Did you like
For
American
me,
Gangster?
I am not a fan. I do love my crime dramas and my cop shows. Like we were talking about who watches the Equalizer TV show. I do. I like Tracker. I just enjoyed Penguin. But when you look at this movie, it just was a little too gritty, a little too long. And you talk about the what and the why. I like to know the who.
Hmm.
And I felt the who was missing from the movie, the American.
That's kind of the same to me. Yeah, I agree with
But
that a
when you
thousand
look at
percent.
it, I don't want the director really to be pulling out just the storytelling, but I want to really be engrossed in the character, just to be captivated by it, just to see them and to care about them and to have them detached from the actor themselves. And this movie for me just was so much about the telling that we don't get the who.
That's a shame.
And so I've seen it a few times, but I'll admit I've never seen it in one sitting.
Mm.
Years ago, even when it came out, it's not the kind of thing you can just enjoy and be pulled into the story.
Gotcha. Um, so I wanted to switch gears again. So fast forwarding another 10 years to the sequel to The Equalizer. Now, this movie actually is very interesting, and it has the most parallels towards Gladiator 2 because it has both Washington and Pedro Pascal, which is, and they share a few scenes together in this one, Equalizer 2. In Gladiator 2, they did not share any scenes together. So I think that
I
might have,
thought one.
did they? One scene?
A brief scene like when he's up
Yeah,
in the balcony there.
yeah,
They had a
exactly.
Okay.
balcony. They had a balcony.
Not
Like
like a full, like,
but they looked at each other. It was more like they had a moment.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give you
They
guys
had
that one.
everyone looks at each other. We've now who knows what kind of moment.
Yeah.
Right.
But in
The rest of us
2007,
knew nothing.
they definitely shared the screen with The Equalizer 2. Um, and I don't think we ranked real. I just want to rank the Equalizer films real quick if that's if you
Mhm.
guys uh Erica, how about you? Out of the trilogy of Equalizers, what was your
Okay. Equalizer 2 is number one for me. Equalizer 1 is number two for me. And Equalizer 3 actually was a disappointment for me.
okay, fair.
But I also would insert the Equalizer TV show that's contemporary on right now in between there
Okay.
because the show is able to create a supporting cast the way the movie, at least Equalizer 2, just I feel doesn't create as much of the CIA story of what he left behind the same way.
I just wish that they kind of intermingled the show with the movies. I think that would have been
But
very.
they're playing the same character. They can't intermingle.
Is her name McCall?
Yes,
It is McCall. Okay,
he's Robin McCall. She is Robin McCall.
that's creative.
She is him.
All right, all right. Mike, your ranking.
It's a good question. I've never really thought because I enjoyed them all. I think I probably haven't seen the first one in a long time, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And two might have been a little bit better, but
Hmm.
only because I already like the character. So I can't be as optimistic. So one and two are almost on the same level. Three didn't disappoint me because I was already going in going, okay, where are they going to go with this character at this point? Like what,
Right,
he's going to, I mean, at this point, you just want to see him kick ass and nobody expects him to kick ass. And that's what he does. Like, I'm going to kick your ass, but you don't expect me to. And I'm going
right.
to do it in a few seconds. So I, I like the device and I like how he and Antoine
Fuqua.
Fuqua work together. They're clearly, a good
Yeah.
team. So I'm in. It's hard for me not to like, Denzel, is a badass, smart,
True.
there's so many iconic scenes that, I would watch any of them again.
So, all right, that about does it, guys. I just want to go around now and do some plugs. Erica, anything you want to mention at this
No,
time?
not right now. I'm engrossed in another project, but I can't really go into it. I'm glad I was able to be here just for this short amount of time.
Of course, thank you. Mr. Sargent, sir, anything you want to plug?
Well, okay. Two things. One, my podcast, Brown and Black, we just won a Signal Award, like a gold Signal Award. So I'm kind of proud of that. And two, my film, the last film I made, it's a horror movie starring Keith David and Bruce Davison. It's called uh, From the Shadows,
Mm.
and it's streaming everywhere. So I had to plug that too.
All right, guys. And with that, that concludes the episode. I just want to thank Erica A, Mike Sargent. You guys are awesome. And
Thank
I hope
you.
to see you guys again real soon. Review some more movies and talk more music, Mr. Sargent.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, I'll share this with you. You know who I got to interview
Oh my.
several times? Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes. See, only a soundtrack nerd would even care. So
Are you
yes,
serious?
totally serious.
This was like this he passed in '04, so damn. What was he like?
Oh, we'll talk about it on another show.
Okay, I like it. I like
I'm
it.
just saying, like,
Stay
I had to
tuned.
just throw that out there.
How
Yes.
can you do that? All right, guys, I'm Randy Unger. This has been Unger the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.